Hi, I'm Andy Hudson from Bapchild Parish Council. It's March the 1st and I thought I'd give you a bit of an update on what we've been up to for the last few months. Going to start with street lighting. Now, street lighting is a bit of a liability for Bapchild Parish Council because for historic reasons the Parish Council and therefore the village owns 28 of the columns. Tends to be in the older parts of the village, and the reason this is a liability is because we have to pay for all of the electric costs and maintenance costs and any ongoing renewal of columns. So it's a very expensive exercise. The way that we thought we could work around this is to essentially pay Kent Highways to get them up to a suitable standard whereby they would then adopt them and look after the ongoing maintenance and electricity bills thereafter. Problem with that is that it's quite expensive to do. Last year we decided to increase the precept, which is the part of the council tax bill that you pay to the parish council, although I would like to add that we are still one of the cheapest in the whole of Swale, and that's going to allow us to both have a suitable level of reserves, because our level of reserves wasn't quite adequate before, and secondly to undertake a programme whereby over a period of time we are able to bring all of these street lighting columns up to adoptable standards and then get rid of them. And once we've obviously got rid of all of them, we'll never have to worry about street lights again. So although it might take time, you know, maybe we won't see the benefits, certainly future generations of residents in Bapchild certainly will see the benefits of that. Secondly, we've had a bit of a success story with a sort of triangular bit of highway outside of the churchyard. It's often where people park if they're visiting the church. Now, although we always considered that to be part of the highway, there was an ongoing dispute with Kent Highways as to ownership. Now that's recently been resolved in our favour, because Kent Highways have ultimately acknowledged that they do own that bit of land, and since that time they have undertaken some minor repairs, filled in a few potholes and the like, and we are hoping that they will undertake a full resurfacing of that area at some point. Right, Stones Farm. It seems like an inordinate amount of time since we had the consultation on the outline planning application for Stones Farm, because it was back at the beginning of August. Now, that hasn't really gone any further. I know that sounds completely mad. It's certainly not normal. What would normally happen is after a period of time it would go before the planning committee, who would make a decision. So at this point in time that hasn't happened, so there has been no decision. So effectively it's just been put on hold for some reason, and I can honestly say we have absolutely no idea what's going on there. We've been unable to find out anything. We've also, as I'm sure many residents have been involved in the final consultation for the local plan. Now, the local plan, for those that don't know, is a planning framework for the whole of Swale that goes up to 2031. And that sets out what development can happen within that time period. So it'll set out how many houses are going to be built, what infrastructure they're hoping to build, and that type of thing. Now, we are obviously interested in that because of Stones Farm, and although Stones Farm was added to the last local plan back in 2006, it is being brought forward into this plan because it's highly probable that actually it won't even start until the next local plan comes into effect. Now, there is an aspect of this that we have a problem with. Although we cannot stop the development is going to happen. I can't tell you precisely when, maybe 2016 at the earliest, possibly 2017, we really don't know. What I can tell you is that the problem that we have with it is down to the reason why it was allowed to get developed in the first place. The whole of Stones Farm is in Bapchild, and it currently forms the local countryside gap between the urban edge of Sittingbourne and the village of Bapchild. And the only reason that the previous inspector that reviewed the previous local plan gave consent for its development was that half of the site, or roughly half of the site, had to be retained in perpetuity to make sure that that country gap didn't disappear altogether, and you ended up with Sittingbourne and Bapchild just being merged into one. Problem is with that is the uncertainty over whether the Northern Relief Road gets finished, and if it gets finished, where does it go? Now, the problem is, if it does go through Stones Farm, the way that the planning application has been formed, and the way that some aspects of the local plan are looking at this, make it impossible to deliver all of the elements. So there is a housing element, there is an open space element, and calling it open space under simplifies things, because actually it's the countryside gap and there's the road, and there just hasn't been enough land allocated to each of those three things. So in effect there's been a development allowance and a countryside gap allowance, and no allowance for the road. So the developers obviously don't want to lose space within the developable area, but encroaching onto the countryside gap is also not something that would be allowed under the current local plan. So a bit of a stalemate there. We've been arguing our case for that for quite some time now. Right, in addition to that particular major application, the other one that we have been closely following has been to do with the town centre. Now, we decided that we probably wouldn't wish to make any comment on it at this time, but obviously this does impact all of us. We all go shopping in the town, we all use the town for its leisure facilities and so on, so we are all affected by this. But yeah, we've been keeping quite a close eye on that, and how that's going to impact all of us. The other larger applications come about in recent months has been for Hempstead Farm. This has been for some new office buildings and a sort of relocation of some limited fruit packing on the site. We have had quite a few applications for this site in the last few years. I think there's been 9 in the last 4 years, and each and every time we've argued that the cumulative effect of all of these things has to have had some impact on traffic, and the problem is that it's located down Hempstead Lane, which is a very narrow lane with no footpath down it, and there's been issues, I think, for a number of residents, and certainly there are safety concerns with that. So we've been closely following that one and keeping an eye on that for the residents. Well, that's all for now, and I'll be sure to check back very shortly. Thank you very much.